Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
Welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And today we are doing another happy hour. Welcome, welcome. As always, if you are joining us, do whatever you're doing responsibly, drinking or otherwise. What are you sipping on, Samantha?
My diet soda. Keep it in mind. I drank all my water earlier, so I'm like, okay, I feel like I did a good job on the water, so I'm going to drink a diet soda today.
Yeah. I had different episode, but I've been having strange dreams lately. I told you about one of them earlier. I also had one that was just, I couldn't stop drinking water. The whole dream was
about water.
Stop drinking water. It was very bizarre. I am drinking a summer shandy a friend left at my apartment.
Oh, nice.
Haven't tried it yet, so I hope it's good.
Yeah, but they're usually pretty good. I used to drink those way back when.
I'm sure it'll be fun. So this episode might be coming at you a little late because we've had a couple of on my end technical issues, which is kind of indicative of what I wanted to talk about. I said recently, I feel like my life is in disarray. I feel like I have a lot of things that I've let build up that just all around me that I have not fixed for one reason or the other. A big one is my car. Samantha knows about this. My car has been dead for 2 weeks now. It does not start. I had someone come out to look at it. It seems like it's just a battery issue. But I kind of wanted to talk about it because I was thinking about kind of the whole car troubles joke, which for a long time has been like a joke about men hitting on women when their car is broken down. And I just got to thinking about that and all of the implications therein. So I know I've told this story before, but when I was in high school, there was an automotive class. Women were not allowed in it unless there was a space after all of the men had gone first.
Wow.
Yeah, because I really wanted to do, the choices were, and I'm not joking, the choices were automotive or dance. I wanted to do automotive.
I'm sorry.
No, it's comical and infuriating. I wanted to do automotive because I thought it would be useful. I love dancing, but I thought like this would be good to know. They would not let me in. They did let in one of the women from my class. But I hate to say, it felt like she was really sexualized in that class.
Oh,
she would talk about it. So it was like a thing where I wanted to learn, and I didn't get the chance at that time. And then, I just never had really an opportunity or real strong desire to learn after that. Like that would have been a nice set of school I had to attend.
Right.
It was there. I never did after that. I never did get the technology, the expertise that I wanted. And I want to say, I have always been scared around cars. There are some reasons for that I've talked about before, but also I'm just afraid of like expensive things. A car is expensive. It makes me nervous. And this is going to sound like way worse than it actually was, but my dad used to ask me to pump gas. So if I needed gas, I would call him and he would come and he would pump the gas. And so it just made me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to mess up this very expensive piece of equipment. So I just have like really deep-seated, I don't know how to handle a car. I don't know what to do about it. And that being said, I want to shout out my friend Marissa, who once, this was before it was like ruined and everything, but it was like the final Harry Potter movie was coming out. My car wouldn't start. And she was like, no, we have to get there on time. And she got that car started. She like knew what to do. She did everything. So in this, I'm mostly talking about experiences I've had where it feels like a lot of this car stuff is still being pretty gatekept by men, but I have plenty of examples of women in my life that do know what they're doing, are good at it, So I just want to make that clear. Also, on the other side of that, my ex, who was a dude, once sheepishly admitted to me that he knew nothing about cars when my car broke down. So it's also like, I think in a lot of ways, a lot of us don't know what's going on.
True story. I feel like I learned a lot about car stuff because of so many things I let go wrong.
Oh, really?
That I know what the sound is. So I learned from my bad.
Do you feel like you could like do some basic?
Like, no. Like the basic is like, I know how to change a tire, but it's really hard, especially with like the changing of the bolts. But I made sure that I did learn, but I'm like, it's going to take me forever, like forever, ever, if I really do have to try this. But I remembered how to do it. One, I don't know how to change the oil filter, but I feel like that's an easy YouTube fix. But I know what a sound of something is. Like, I'm like, that sounds like the wheel bearing. I think I need to go do this. That sounds like the alignment is off. Like, I need to go do this. Like, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my most recent problem when the guy showed up, because I did call a repair service, because again, it won't start, so I can't get it anywhere. I was like, I think it's the battery, because I recognize this clicking.
Right.
I have heard this before.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I used to be pretty good at like very basic, admittedly, but I used to be pretty good at that stuff. And now I've just become so afraid I'll mess something up. And that's in part because I never drive anymore.
Right.
But also just don't feel confident in it. There are a couple of other things too. So one is, as Samantha knows, my car doesn't move from its spot very often. And so it's sort of like people know my car. It's there. And so I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by it. But also there's like a guy that comes out in my building to smoke. But he comes out and he just hangs out. And I don't want to be out there trying to do my thing. And he's looking at me like, And then my landlord is like ever present. And I don't want him to get involved. But it's all these like men in my life that I'm like,
but they're not in your life.
Yeah, but they're like in my orbit.
Also, like, I would like to go ahead and put an asterisk here with the neighbor, because I have actually avoided going to your door myself, who typically I will like, it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. I don't want to hang out and be awkward. I don't want to have a conversation with people. But he literally stands in a way that is so imposing, as well as smoking right on the steps, as well as most of the times being shirtless and a little over, like, he just hangs out there. And like, all of those things are like, yeah, he's not going to move out of my way. Like, and he just purposely stands there staring people down.
Yeah.
I have noticed that, because when I would wait for you, I'm like, hey, I'm down here, but your neighbor's there, so I might want to wait for a second. I'm going to wait for a second. And then he just sits there and stares.
He does.
So I feel like he's a whole special conversation in itself.
And it's unfortunate because it has like, one of the things I hate that I'm really having trouble letting go from the pandemic is that I don't feel super comfortable leaving my place all the time. And part of it is, what if he's there? What if he's there? And I've literally like gotten back upstairs if I see him out there. And he's never done anything to me. He's just like got a vibe that's not great. So I don't want to be out trying to fix something with my car that possibly I could fix if he's going to be out there. So I call in the service that comes to you, and it was a guy, and he was super nice. But then afterwards, everyone was like, well, it sounds like he was flirting with you. And now, oh no, because he knows I can't go anywhere. He knows.
Who said that?
Two of my friends who, when I was telling them, they were just asking.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, it kind of sounds like, who do you think he was? And I said, no, I don't think so, but I don't have the best track record with that. And I don't know. I honestly have no idea. He will be here again soon. So we'll see. But then I started thinking about that because, like, I feel like a lot of times that whole kind of car trouble thing, that whole like women can't take automotive class, we're going to get to that episode that we've been talking about forever about the history of women in driving, does feel very like you can't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll help you. In this case, like very like heteronormative man being like, I'll help you then. Because it does feel very, I'll swoop in and rescue you. Whereas I think I used to be able to fix a lot of these things, at least like the smaller things. And it's frustrating to me that it's gotten to a point where I, I just gotta, I feel like I have to deal with this because I'm avoiding other dudes. But also, like, I am scared I'll do damage to my car. I've talked about before, I actually passed out when my parents bought a car because I saw how much it was and I passed out. Like, I have a lot of anxiety around how much things cost. And it does feel kind of like it's out of my control. So this also, I just don't, it's sad because I also just don't like driving. I don't want to, but I have to. That's sort of the society we live in. And I do want a working car. That's the honest truth. I do want one, but it's frustrating because I'm like, but I want one. It feels like just for emergencies. And this, we've talked before about like stereotypes around women driving and men driving. That was definitely present in my last relationship. But this, I also feel is changing because I've seen a lot of my friends. It doesn't really feel like that's there anymore for them at all. But when my ex and I were dating, he was always like, I will drive. And he was not a good driver, Samantha. He was actually pretty bad. I was a better driver than him. I feel confident in saying that.
Oh, no. Yeah, my partner and I share duties. Make sure because we split it. Because also I get car sick really easily. So like the only times I don't really get car sick is if A, I'm asleep or B, I'm driving. So I can't sit a whole ride like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you and several of my friends, that's what I've seen, is it feels like pretty equal in terms of how they're driving. So I'm glad to see that because I remember when the show first started, there was an episode about like, why do men do most of the driving?
I mean, that's still definitely a stereotype on TikTok about the passenger princess. That's all over my For You page on TikTok.
It is definitely still a thing. And I would love to hear from listeners about it because I always hesitate talking about some of these older like stereotypes in terms of, how many times do we have to bring this back? But the thing is, they do keep coming back. But I would like to hear from people's other experiences. There is something else that has been happening in recent years where there's been a couple of examples of women-owned or women-based automotive repair shops. There was one in Atlanta. I think it's changed.
It has, and they've made a big announcement to let you know it is no longer owned by a woman. Like it has been a thing because they still kept the logo and kept the first part of because the title of it is literally like my mechanic is a woman. And so when that stopped, they didn't take away the name until they finally like, hey, a woman doesn't own this. Just so you know, I'm not the owner. And so they had to do my mechanic is, and they left that.
Yes, they just left it be, which was sad. But there have been a couple of examples of those kinds of things. And it's one of those things where I'm like two minds about. It's sort of like the women only gyms where I get it. But I think we should address like a larger issue. But I do totally get it. Like, again, I've laid out several examples of where men have made me uncomfortable around cars. So I do understand, but it's also sort of like, if this is what we're doing, we might want to ask why that is. And unfortunately, the car repair business is just notorious. The car business in general is notorious for lying to people or upselling people or not being upfront with people. I know it's not everybody, but that when you go into a situation and you feel like, oh, I don't know enough about this, and I feel like this person's probably trying to cheat me, it's like not a great situation. And I think that's compounded with women, because I think the view is still women don't know what they're doing with cars, but clearly for a long time, we've been prevented from knowing, even if the class you wanted to take in high school was automotive.
Right. End of story.
Yes. So those are my car troubles.
Them car troubles.
Yeah. I titled it that because that's what like the joke always is the guy comes up and he's like, car troubles. But if anyone has any thoughts about this, or if you have any examples of these women-based automotive repair shops, your experience there, or just, generally what's the trope, the vibe of gendered stereotypes around driving right now, please let us know. You can email us at stephaniemomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at momstuffpodcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff One Never Told You. We're on YouTube, and we have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff One Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite show.